about Doug Gottlieb is cut. Now you ran across, you was referring to some tweets he had between Gottlieb and Roland Martin, which I did not know about. So I wanted to shed some light on that after I made the apology for Doug Gottlieb for his initial premise, which was this young man, Travis Hunter, going from a school with resources to a FCS school that doesn't have the fraction of the resources that Florida State has. But go ahead, you're about to do another context.
You know, and I do want to apologize to Drake because I wanted to hear what his response was. I wanted to hear what a non-HBCU alum's response. Well, no, I'm sorry, he went to
Morehouse. He went to Morehouse.
Talking about. So yeah, I wanted to hear what his response was as it pertains to Travis Hunter coming over to Jackson State, right? But I'm sorry, Scott, I had to correct you because I read one of those tweets that Doug Gottlieb sent out, and I'm just reading this article from the New York Post that talks about the transaction between one Doug Gottlieb and Roland Martin a couple of weeks ago. Of course, with Gottlieb's tweet saying Twitter celebrating a kid making an obvious mistake is hilarious, as if choosing an HBCU is an obvious mistake, which one is already a stab at my heart, along with the other HBCU alums out there in the world. I find that to be extremely laughable, right? So, of course, Roland Martin responded and commented on Gottlieb's arrogance and asked him to explain why going to a team in Jackson State that finished 11-2, I'm updating this in celebration mode, this past season would be worse for Hunter than playing for Florida State, which finished the season 5-7. And this is from Doug Gottlieb. HBCU football does not have close to the same support, athletically, academically, medically, and they play an inferior schedule with inferior teammates. Now, okay, I get they don't get the same supports athletically and medically. I get that, right? But to say that they don't have the same support academically, that's a whole nother conversation for another time.
Right.
But Gottlieb continues. In addition of football ends, any person would prefer to be a UGA, that's University of Georgia, FSU, Florida State, Texas A&M alum for help in the workforce. That part, my friend, is the part that bothered me the most, because you talk about the amount of HBCUs there are in comparison to PWIs. HBCUs make up 5% of the academic establishments out there, right? But yet somehow they tend to turn out, if not more than 50%, but at least 50% or more in terms of Black lawyers, Black judges, Black accountants. There are a lot of things that HBCUs, oh my God, it's just the audacity of him to come out and say that HBCU alums, you won't be able to benefit by going to an HBCU because you won't be able to get any assistance from an HBCU alum in the workforce is completely laughable. And then I'll say this, right? For someone who works in a workplace where there aren't a lot of HBCU alums, as an HBCU alum myself, you know what, Doug? I didn't need the assistance. My work speaks for itself. I didn't need this. I made it hard to tell me no because of my work ethic and my work and my talent. So yes, there are a lot of fields dealing with business, finance, law, wherever you want to go, agriculture. There's so many industries that HBCU alums are well entrenched in that I know that I'm forgetting right now, and HBCU alums are screaming at me right now as we speak. The other areas right now that, dude, to say that we wish to, no, we don't. No, we don't. That was laughable. My God. And it was an embarrassment of Doug Gottlieb and his knowledge of HBCUs and how well entrenched in various fields that HBCU alums are. Nursing department. Oh my God. How dare you, Doug Gottlieb? How dare you? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and show the word that you can put your shorts on the right way. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, there's footage of Doug Gottlieb playing in a basketball game for Oklahoma State with his shorts backwards for several minutes in the first half. Yeah, dude. And then, of course, the other various things that Doug Gottlieb has been involved in and that I don't want to talk about. But yeah, dude, don't.
Well,
yeah, I
didn't know. I didn't know that.
Engineering field. Oh my God. Yeah. So,
well, A&T. I'll say this, and I'm not going to belabor the point because we know, and people out there know, but A&T puts out the most Black engineers in the country, in the world.
Yes.
FAMU is one of the top. I want to get this right. They have one of the top business schools in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And we won't talk about Winston State in their nursing program. We're not going to talk.
No, we're not going
to. We're not going to talk.
We could, but we're not going to.
I could, but I could also mention the fact that a lot of pre-med nurses go to Winston State for the nursing school. I could also mention that North Carolina had a governor, Easley, who's a UNC alum, but went to North Carolina Surgeon for the law school program.
Yes, you talk about the law programs.
I could mention that too. They have one of the better law school programs in the country as well. I could mention that too, but that's not a here nor there, right? That's not a here nor there. But anyway, just getting back to this subject at hand as far as Deion Sanders recruiting. I will say this. Like I said, I agree with Doug Gottlieb on one thing, is that I think the HBCU sports has a huge moment on its hands right now. Right?
Yes, right.
Because one thing that Coach Prime has done, he's brought the spotlight onto the HBCUs. He's brought the spotlight, or is trying to bring more to the spotlight. He's already in commercials with the great Nick Saban. Who could have thought that? You have the GOAT in FBS, right? Coaching with Deion Sanders as his wingman in the Aflac commercials. You got to be doing something right if you go on the same stage with Nick Saban, right? And Nick Saban has some kind words to say about Deion Sanders when he was asked that question about flipping Travis Hunter from Florida State to Jackson State. It's on YouTube. You all can look it up.
Of course.
But I'll say this, man. With this kid, Travis Hunter, wanted to learn from Deion Sanders. And if you think about it, having Deion Sanders, in the living room, if he makes it to your living room, a lot of parents know who Deion Sanders is.
A lot of kids know who he is.
And the kids still know who he is. So if you're a cornerback or defensive back or defensive player, especially, you're going to want to holler at Deion Sanders. You want to holler at him anyway, especially, like I said, the parents know who the hell he is. They watch him play. They have no shot. Other coaches will have a harder time if you allow Deion Sanders to come into your house and use his gift of gab. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say this, though. That's all well and good. I just need, and we talked about this before, but I'm going to keep beating the hell out of this drum. And I think you know where I'm going. I just need for administration at these institutions. I'm just focused on the SWAC right now. I just need for these administrators in the SWAC to start and to I don't know how, I'm not that smart, but have to bring up, to drum up engagement in the communities and within the alums, because a lot of these schools, Grambling, Southern, Florida A&M, Jackson State now, they have strong alumni program. They have strong alumni bases. I'm not even mentioning the A&T and the formula of the MEAC. We have a big ass chapter here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I know how strong the Aggie Alumni Association is, alumni base is. We both know that. We both know that.
Yes.
So I just need, I don't know how the administrations of these schools do it, but they're going to, if it's a combination, it's going to have to be a combination with better alumni engagement and engagement within corporations, businesses, and their communities. They have to start reinvesting and invest more. They don't have to be on the same level as Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. I'm not saying all of that. I'm just saying they need to invest more, because I'm telling you, since George Floyd's murder, more kids are starting to, more of our kids are starting to look at HBCUs for their education. Since in a long time.
Yeah.
Right? That and the fact that ESPN is showing the SWAC love, still showing the MEAC some love, it's right there. I just need for the reinvestments to happen. I just need for the re-engagement. I mean, even though the SWAC on average has outdrawn every FCS conference and attendance, and that's before Deion did it this year.
Yeah.
In the past, it wasn't even close. It's not even close now. I just need for more fan engagement. I need for more of the support. I need more financial support from these fans to happen for these fine institutions in the SWAC, the MEAC, and A&T, those in the PWI conferences, the A&T, Hampton,
Tennessee State, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I need, in the SEAC, I know the SEAC is Division II, it is what it is, but you still have programs like Tuskegee looking to bubble up too. So
yeah, Tuskegee, Kentucky State,
Morehouse, yeah. I need more and more of some support, and let's focus on FCS right now. More and more support, because FCS is right there, right below FBS. So I just need more support from the fans, the alumni, the donors, the administrations at these institutions, the conference commissioners. I need more.
These institutions have to do whatever they need to do in order to get better community engagement as well. Right. So this is one of the things that we've been preaching for the past few years, at least, in terms of HBCU media and also fans that actually understand this. Right? There are a lot of fans that would love to see HBCUs compete on a national level, but they don't understand the finances the fiscal responsibility that goes into doing this. I said this not too long ago in this podcast, and I'm reiterating that same thing because it just seems to be, for whatever reason, that a lot of people believe that this money just magically appears, right? Right. Where they say that, you know what, we need to have a better this. We need to have a better that. Why don't we have this? Why can't we get that? Certain players would love to come to these institutions, but when they come here, then let's be real, they see what they see at certain institutions, and then they go someplace else and they see what they see there in terms of facilities, in terms of their training staff, whatever, and they see that it's better. Sometimes they'll go ahead and make that decision, but a lot of times they'll go ahead and they'll make that choice to come to an HBCU. Right. The thing is, though, yes, the eyes are on us. We're getting that shine. But the thing is, we're going to have to be able and capable of keeping these student athletes here. Yes. And giving them what they need in order to compete against other programs. Which means that, community engagement has to be better to help people who aren't necessarily alums in that region come to these games. Right. Alums, it would be great if you go to these games more. Yes. Alums, it would be great. Something about that. Yes, it will be great if you were to go ahead and give back a little bit more to your institutions. Talking to one of your frat brothers who is also an A&T alum, I'm going to go ahead and shout out my man, Stephen Harrington, who is a member of and a chapter president of the A&T Aggies Athletic Foundation down in he's the president of the Greensboro chapter. He let me know that, you talk about alums giving back, right? Especially as it pertains to HBCUs. Now, I don't want to get him in trouble by quoting this number wrong, but I think he told me that it was under 5% in terms of alumni give back from HBCUs back to their respective institutions. And when you talk about giving back to your athletics department, that number is under 2%. Yo, we got to do better if we want to compete. Right. And if we want to have better facilities and better everything. be it to the amount of staff members and that we have within our athletics department and everything else that they're going to need in order to compete, not only within their conference, but against the rest of the nation too. So yes, getting donations would be wonderful from businesses and various companies, but we got to help us become better by giving back. So yeah, we got to play our own part too. So
gotcha.
It's great to have these students come, but it's not just about having them come here.
Right.
We got to sustain them while they're here,
right.
which will attract more to come here as well. We can't just have them come just because it's an HBCU. We got to give them something while they're here to make them completely, thoroughly enjoy their time here, and also help them compete on the highest level as well.
Well said. Very well said. Appreciate you for that, brother. Let's get back right quick. Let's close the show on this. Back to the Celebration Bowl. I know you were there. And I thought about you because I just wondering how many Jackson State, I had thinking about the Seattle Bay for some reason. I was thinking about how many Jackson State alums was looking what the draws dropped. And how many, because South Carolina State came out and just smacked them in the mouth. They came out there. I don't know what was said in the pregame speech by that coach who's been around, been there, done that. And I hadn't heard many South Carolina State fans chirp before the game as much as Jackson State did. I'm just wondering about the atmosphere when they saw their team smacking down the bully and the bully / petty fans in the process. By that, I mean also the SWAC, all the SWAC as well.
Yeah.
Being that the MEAC practically owned the SWAC as far as these matchups go now. Let's just be real. What was the atmosphere like? What was it like? Again, I don't know too many South Carolina State fans that were talking before the game, but I have to imagine they were talking shit afterwards. So take me through the game and what happened and like how the atmosphere was, because I want to hear this.
I'll say this. So I'll start it with this. I had to get adjusted to the atmosphere because this is the first time since 2016 that North Carolina A&T was not participating in this game.
Right.
So having that adjustment alone for myself, it took a minute, right? Hell, I don't know if I'm still over it yet. I think I'm still dealing with that.
Right.
But while watching the game, and even before getting to the game, right? Just the amount of disrespect that South Carolina State was receiving for this matchup can be seen in something as simple as the press conference, the pregame press conference, the Friday before the game, right?
Right.
So annually they have their pregame press conference where you're capable, the media is there interviewing the head coach and two players from both teams. Been to a couple of them, and normally it's a decent size, group of media that's there, right? Seemed about the same amount, when it was time for South Carolina State. About somewhere between 30 to 45 people in that media room. 2 hours later, it was South Carolina State. First it was South Carolina State. 2 hours later, it would be Jackson State. An hour into that wait time, more people started to come into the room, and an announcement was made. Okay, guys, we're going to have to get a little bit closer than what we did before because of the amount of media that are going to be in the room. And of course, we understood why, because who was coming? One Deion Sanders in Jackson State. And yes, there was probably somewhere between 2 to 3 times more media in that room when Jackson State was there than it was when South Carolina State was there. So that, in my eyes, was a little disrespectful, but at the same time, I get it because, of course, Deion Sanders is who he is. But I'm going to go ahead and quote one Jacoby Durant, who is the safety there at South Carolina State that won the defensive player of the game during the Celebration Bowl. He said that during their downtime in Atlanta, they had an opportunity to go around the city. And when they went to a mall with him and a couple of his teammates, people were looking at him. And he said that, you know, he could tell that they could recognize that they were athletes. They just didn't understand, you know, or they couldn't figure out who they played for. So, of course, people would come up to him and ask him, you know, according to him, he said, people asked him, were they basketball players? And he said, no, we play football at South Carolina State. We're playing in the Celebration Bowl. And he said that the people's response was, oh, you're the team that's playing against Jackson State. Mm. He said at that point in time, you know, of course, with all the stuff that's being said on social media.
Wait, it just dawned on me. It's like, oh, you're the guy.
Yeah, right. So you take the 10-point point spread given to Jackson State, the amount of smack talking that's going around, the fact that this 11-1 team is already looked to be favorites against a team that's 6-5. They just felt disrespected. And then when the game got started, Jackson State in the first quarters go up 7-0. But then there were periods there in which Jackson State's defense looked to bully South Carolina State's offense. And you could hear the buzzing in the press box about, South Carolina State is looking shook. This could be it, right? All of a sudden, South Carolina State forces a fumble. They get the ball. They score in a short field, make it 7-7. Mm-hmm. South Carolina State is starting to look like they're putting up a fight. And not only did they put up a fight, this is quote from Shaq Davis, the wide receiver who scored 3 touchdowns in that game and won offensive player of the game. Shout out to my man from Summerville, South Carolina, my third home.
All right.
He said, and I quote, they were physical. We had to get physical back with them. And you can tell on all facets of the game, that's exactly what the Bulldogs did. Mm-hmm. And that's something that the MEAC is known for, having more physical play than Jackson State. But if you would have seen Jackson State play this entire season, you would have thought, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that's not what you're going to get. But hey, South Carolina State said, hey, we are the MEAC. This is how we play ball. Mm-hmm. This is how we're going to dominate you. And that's exactly what they did. And not only were they physical with them, there were several things that I pointed out in my preview with Hero Sports that, oddly enough, I didn't pick South Carolina State to win. But I said if South Carolina State was capable of doing a couple of things, they could win this game.
Right.
And they did those things. One, win the turnover battle, which they did 3-2. But not only did they win the turnover battle, the points that were scored off those turnovers, they outscored them 21-3. Mm. Another thing that I pointed out was, hey, don't kick the ball to their all-conference kick returner, Isaiah Bowden, which they did not. And shout out to Dyson Reynolds, I think that's what his name is. I'm sorry, Dyson Roberts, the punter for South Carolina State. Averaged slightly under 50 yards per punt. They only totaled 31 yards on punt returns, 20 of which came from one punt return that a lot of people thought was going to be a big return, but wasn't, because that returner was stopped by who? Dyson Roberts himself. Mm. So they did what they needed to do in terms of special teams. Also, another flaw in special teams with Jackson State was their field goal kicking. I said, hey, if it comes down kicking the field goal, Jackson State may have an issue, because throughout the entire year, they were 3-11 kicking field goals throughout the whole year. There was an instance there. Jackson State, after getting an interception, drove downfield, got to the 15-yard line of South Carolina State. Mm-hmm. It was 4th and 1. They had a decision to make. Do we kick this field goal, which was probably like about under a 30-yarder? Do we kick that? Or do we go for it on 4th and 1, get a new fresh set of downs and try to go up 14-0? So instead of taking that field goal and going up 10, they go for it on 4th and 1. They don't get it. Jackson State South Carolina State would eventually get the ball, go up 10-7 at the half. Then all of a sudden, the snowball continued to roll. Make it even worse. Like I said, you had the punt game, the turnovers. Also, there was a situation there South Carolina State was up 17-7 in the third quarter. It's 4th and 19. It was too close for them to punt. It probably would have been about a 40+ yard field goal attempt. But Buddy Pugh decided to gamble and said, we're going to go for it on 4th and 19. What happens? They get 20, get a new fresh set of downs. 2 plays later, they score a touchdown. They go up 27-7 late in the third quarter, and their win probability jumps up to over 90%. And I think that was the decision of the game, because we've seen Jackson State down by 10 points before late in the third.
Change the momentum. They squashed the momentum. Yeah. And
they squashed that momentum. They were capable of coming back in the fourth quarter. 10 points was doable for them. We've seen that done throughout the season. 17 is a little bit more insurmountable. And as we can see, something that they didn't do and haven't been capable of doing all year long. And the fact that he made that play was super big in terms of the play calling by the offensive coordinator, and with Buddy Pugh decided making that decision to go for it on 4th and 19 to make that gamble for them to go up that big late in the game. But yeah, shout out to them. There was much to do about the attendance. They went ahead and the attendance was 48,652, 53 to be
most
exact.
They had, yeah.
Most ever, right?
Right.
But of course, when the announcement was made about them selling out, people were wondering whether or not they were selling out the entire Mercedes-Benz Stadium,
right,
or not. And the answer to that, of course, is no. Now, the organizers of the game, of course, they've capped attendance for all of the Celebration Bowls at 45,000.
Right.
For them to go ahead and meet that number was big for them, and that's something they're not going to go ahead and change from here on out. And congratulations to ESPN and the organizers for the Celebration Bowl, because of course, not only did they continue the agreement with both the MEAC and the SWAC back in the spring to extend the Celebration Bowl period for 6 years, they also extended that contract for those same 6 years with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to continue to have the game in that stadium during that same time frame. So wonderful shout out, kudos to them for doing that. But yeah, I want to go ahead. I know it's been said, but I want to go ahead and say it again, that the whole attendance thing, make sure we get that misnomer out of the way. From here on out, yes, the cap for the Celebration Bowl in terms of attendance is 45,000. And yes, they exceeded it this past year. So congratulations to them on that. And then, of course, the other record set, most receiving touchdowns in the game by Shaq Davis. And then, of course, biggest point differential in the game. Oddly enough, that number being 21. Deion Sanders.
And speaking of which, how about that young man doing his dance from South Carolina State in the end zone? That was pretty dope. And Deion Sanders giving him props.
Yes.
That invitation was even more dope.
Oh, of course, right? I mean, there have been many. I've seen it on social media by players ever since the announcement of being hired by Jackson State. There have been players threatening the high step, threatening to do the dance, but to do it in that atmosphere, in that type of game, huge. And kudos for them for doing the dance and then bringing out the sledgehammer too. That was even better. That was better for me. So, but yeah, so kudos to them. But of course, with South Carolina State winning that game, there was so much conversation about who the Black college football national champion is. I got to ask your question.
Yes, sir.
In your eyes, based upon what you've seen, who do you think the Black college football champion is?
It ain't FAMU. It's not FAMU. I don't give a damn. No matter what the answer is, it ain't FAMU. Sorry, Rattlers. I know what you saw in that ranking. I know what you saw in that video. I know I forgot what damn website you all referenced. You're not the national champion, Black national champions. You didn't win your conference. You didn't win your damn division. Stop it. Stop it. You know better.
Oh my God.
Y'all know better than that. Central Florida thinks y'all stupid for declaring yourselves national champions. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. Stop.
Do they know better though? This is the second time they've done this where they've declared themselves Black college football national champions.
Didn't they
in
have some
consecutive
beef in
seasons.
the MEAC one time with our A&T 1 year?
Yeah, 2019 to be exact, because
Yeah.
that was a year, of course, they actually beat A&T,
Mhm.
had a better conference record than A&T,
Mhm.
but because of the NCAA sanctions that they were facing,
Mhm.
self-imposed to be exact,
Right.
due to some
Excuse me.
improprieties that they had,
Mhm.
they couldn't compete for the Celebration Bowl, and they couldn't win the MEAC title. Now, had they been capable of doing so, they would have won the conference. But since they couldn't, they didn't. A&T goes on, puts up 66 on Alcorn State, and the rest is, of course, history,
The
right?
pettiness. I love it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, right. So, even with all of that, there was still a publication, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. Of course, that one publication is ran by Florida A&M alum, that chose them, the Rattlers, as the national champions, where everyone else chose A&T. Now, this year, again, said publication chose Florida A&M as the national champion, but there have been other publications that have given said title to Bowie State, the Division II program, because of the fact that they won the CIAA, they went on to play in the playoffs, they were one of the Elite Eight in the Division II playoffs,
right,
and they would lose to a team that will eventually go on, I think, to win the title for Division II, if my memory serves me correctly.
Okay.
So because of their resume, with the 11 wins, with the winning the title, with them going deep in the playoffs, there were a lot of people who thought that they had a great resume and decided that they would win the Black National Championship. But if you're like me, you still don't forget the fact that they lost to Delaware State in week 1. And then, of course, South Carolina State not only defeated Delaware State, but defeated Jackson State in the SWAC in the Celebration Bowl. And then, of course, the whole Celebration Bowl being the Black College Football National Championship game, whatever your thoughts on that, because, of course, everybody in Black college football cannot compete in said game,
right,
because less than half of Black college teams are in the FCS, and even less than that are capable of being able to compete in the Celebration Bowl, period. So it's kind of unfair to say that. But if you're saying that, the winner of that game should get high consideration for the Black College Football National Championship, I'll give you that. But there are a lot of people that didn't think that, and there was a split. And it's an interesting conversation about who it should be between Bowie State, Jackson State, South Carolina State, and even Florida A&M that I'm going to address in the articles that I'm writing right now for the Yard. So
nice.
Yeah, it's interesting, and everyone has released what they believe their national champion is. But yeah, when you keep having this type of situation and the opportunity for chaos to happen, this is what you get. And it's not something that I don't think that's going to end in the near future, because we can continue to have a 4-win team. Well, yes, South Carolina State, they swept the MEAC and won all 5 conference games, but you can get a 4-win MEAC champion or a 3-win in conference MEAC champion to move on to the Celebration Bowl and still potentially beat the SWAC. So this is a conversation we might end up having for the next few years until someone comes up with something to rectify.